This is like take number 500. No, I'm joking. It's not take 500. I've been getting so frustrated with trying to record a video that I just don't know how to record a good video. And I don't have quite have the ability within me to really just sit through the process of doing a good video. But I want to talk about what's going on the internet, mostly YouTube and TikTok. I don't spend a lot of time on TikTok. I just glanced at it and I decided that a dumpster fire was best left alone. But looking at YouTube, there's been a lot of people claiming that they saw Jesus and that they talked to God and God said to do this and do this, or you need to watch this video, otherwise you're gonna miss out on something important. And there's so many people that really just have no clue who God is. And I'm not saying this like I have this big fat ego and I'm telling everybody, oh, hey, I actually know God. Oh, I'm saying this because isn't it absurd how many people are kind of just jumping onto that Christian bandwagon and saying, oh, I was living a life of sin and now I turned to Jesus. And it's like, to me, a lot of it just feels very disingenuous because they're doing it for attention. But for some people out there, religion has helped them attain sobriety. So that's the cool part about using religion to really discipline yourself and to get yourself on the straight and narrow. But all these people that are chasing clout, that's not right. It's not. Ah. And when they say don't use the Lord's name in vain, using his name in vanity is all matter of ego. People use it pridefully, they use it arrogantly, they use it as a way to discriminate against others, to tell people that they're evil or to judge people for the the way that they live, for how they express themselves, for their gender pronouns, for their sexuality, for different things that you really should not be judging people on, because God knows so much more than what anybody here in this world knows. And we have a couple messengers among us. One of them, lives in the States, and she's been my friend since 2013. Though I've always, in the past, I've always seen myself as a bad friend. Only because I've come to realize that I've allowed people to gaslight me and into believing who you know, the image that they made me believe in. And I had to realize that wasn't me, because since having this relationship with the Father, with the Lord, however you choose to view him, I've come to realize that because I'm so authentic and true to myself, you know, people that aren't true to themselves are very bothered by it. And that's because they know that they are not living in a good place within themselves and within their lives. And who knows what's going on in here in their consciousness and in their heart. But if somebody has the inclination or the tendency to want to pick people apart, they'd have to be very unhappy in order to want to hurt somebody. And some of the unhappiest people do actually hurt people pretty badly. And that's the crazy thing about this world, is it so much of it is full of suffering. One of the common complaints that I saw on a platform before I got banned from it was that if God is good, why does he allow suffering? And I feel that it's very unfair to a divine being to be like, oh, well, if you're such a good person, why are you letting all these people go through what they're going through? And it's like, you believe in free will, and he does not believe in coercing a person to be a certain way. He is not conditional, he is unconditional. And so it hurts him to see people suffering. But he knows that if he were to just change everything in the blink of an eye, nobody would like it. Because so much would be missing. They would start grieving over the things that they're missing. Because people are not really in touch with themselves. And because of what's in the shadow is negativity. And Alora Cian taught me a bunch about the shadow and about ego. And I know she's tried for the longest time to teach me other things. And, you know, I've discovered that I finally figured them out recently. But a lot of that was because I was believing in things about myself that were not true because miserable people wanted me to be miserable. So that at least somebody was more miserable than they were. And the world's full of people that are entitled like that, where they think that they have to be the center of attention, and that if somebody didn't respond to them a certain way, then they felt entitled to be greatly offended by that person. And there's people that claim to speak on behalf of God, and they have no idea what it is that they're really saying to people. And people have no idea that this person is just pretending. People think, oh, we found this figure that's kind of like a messiah, and they're saying a lot of things that I agree with, like I feel so validated, this is the best thing ever. And it's like, you don't find somebody that validates every fiber of your being if you truly want to change and grow closer to God. You find somebody that's going to point out the truth about you when you want to change and truly grow closer to God. You don't find change by going after the same kinds of stuff. The world is a reflection and projection, and Alora said that it really means the same thing. It's mind over matter. And according to a very supernatural experience, I don't think it's paranormal. It's a supernatural experience that I had, I would say, because it's not a ghost doing something, it's something greater than that. Um, I've had lights turn off and on, I had light bulbs blow out, I had TV screens go black and white or do a checkered pattern, or I've had car alarms go turn on and then turn off. I've had people think that they saw the color of my shirt change or the color of my glasses change. I've had numbers change before my eyes. I had things move around in my environment. And one of the things that I felt was pretty like fun was when I forgot to close my car door. And it's not a windy day. There was no wind. And I said, dang it, I forgot to close the door. And the moment I saw that, I saw the car door close, with enough force that my car tilted towards me. And then when that pressure on the door let go, it settled back into place. Like the car went boop, 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 and settled back in place. And if that force was that strong to be able to move a car in such a way, it must be insane the level of power that God has to change this world. But He can't, because people have to change what's in there and what's in their heart. And I hope the Father understands that I'm trying to record this video and I feel like I'm failing. Yeah, but I'm hoping there could be some sort of way that I can convey properly what I want to say to people about Him. You know, I'm trying to get in touch with like the clearest emotion about it, but I just think about the vision. Like I have psychic abilities, so I can perceive things from time to time if they're triggered. And I've had a very clear and distinct vision a few different times. And all these different cases, he used the image of Yeshua, in every moment. So I wasn't the same person in every moment, but he used the same image just to kind of get me to say, oh, this is somebody I recognize. Like, this is a friend. This is somebody I can trust. And it was very comforting. And what was even more comforting was feeling that connection. And you know how when a loving father just kind of rests his hand on your shoulder and kind of just brings you in for like a gentle embrace before, having a conversation with you and not wanting to hurt you, but wanting to, bring something to your attention with the most purest love and kindness and compassion, and you get to sitting there being really quiet and listening to it. That was the moment that I felt like God was there, and I felt Him. And my back's vibrating right now. I can feel my back vibrating behind the shoulder blades. uh, it's like that connection. And that's why it's important to really be in touch with not just here but in your heart. You need the brain, but you need that emotional connection too. It's like you can't just be all logic. You're going to miss out on information if you're just purely logical. Because a feeling like love doesn't have, hard logic to it, even though it could involve using logic in a loving way. You got to be able to feel what love is, and to feel God with me in that moment. It was so beautiful. And whatever fear and insecurity I had vanished. Like magically. It just faded away. He didn't use any words, because this is how I received the information. He didn't use any words. What happened was his consciousness connected with me on a deeper level, that it was a vibration, or it was a feeling, or it was an image, and it translated into a conversation that he wanted to have with me. And a lot of it, a lot of what I had to talk about with him was how much I didn't feel loved. I told them about my struggles finding employment, keeping employment, struggles with how people would backstab me, how they would gaslight me, how they would look for ways to throw me out. And I just think about just how miserable people must be to really want me to hate myself and to really want me to hate myself so much that I wanted to kill myself. That how miserable must they be to really want me to believe that I didn't deserve to be here in this world. Doing the best that I can, with the light that I was given. And it's hard, because why are people so all about themselves? And I had to work so hard to open up my heart. It took me a few years. And it started with decluttering my mind. It started with getting good up here, like making sure I'm okay here, before I was able to really open up my heart. Because every time I opened up my heart, I ended up with the deepest, darndest depression and dissociative episodes that I just didn't know how to cope with. Because it's like deep inside, people don't. I know so many people don't have the integrity to really truly want to follow the path that God has laid out before them. A lot of people look at that path and they say, "No, it's not for me." And they go off somewhere else because all they're thinking about is what they think they want for themselves. And they're kind of just grasping at straws because it's like they're missing out on an entire story that could only be found if they took the time to walk through the narrow gate every time the option presented itself. There's a wide gate and there's a narrow gate. Sometimes it's hard to make a choice because the wider gate seems like a better option until you really look deeper and look beneath the surface and say, am I only choosing that because that's what's familiar and that's what's comfortable? And that's what happens with when people choose a leader. They choose a leader because they choose somebody that just validates their own, their own beliefs. They don't even bother going to somebody that's different. They don't get a different perspective. They'd rather just follow somebody that has the same perspective that they do and say to hell with everybody else. There's so many people that are just all about themselves and that they don't really care about how they treat others, and that's not right. It's not fair. And if God were in this world, well, he would not be sleeping. There would not be a time that he would sleep. There would always be something for him to be doing. He would love to just help people. And the thing is he's all about being a loving father. But he's this great force that doesn't have hands that are small enough to fit in this world. It's like if something made the universe, that they ought to be pretty big. If something that big doesn't fit in this space with our with our souls being so tiny and minuscule compared to him, there has to be some way where the largest connects to the smallest, and it has to be a connection via all the collective, the hierarchy and the collective, you know. And it's like the tree of life, as you know. Have you seen how the universe looks, where everything just seems like it's webbed and connected? It's like that. Everything has to have connection, and people are disconnected because of ego, and ego opposes what God wants to do here, to help people get better, to help people heal and find happiness within themselves. But he can't do that if people are busy celebrating and worshiping ego and putting it on a pedestal. And he can't help people if they are too asleep to admit that they are blind spiritually and whatever. And there are not many people that wake up to finding him, because it takes a lot of work to get to this point where I feel a connection with them. And it's not like I have a perfect connection with him. There's a lot that I still have to learn, and there's always learning to do, because this is just one dimension of many. This is one realm of many. He has a mansion with many rooms, as Yeshua of Nazareth said. My Father has a mansion which has many rooms. And it's just the use of something familiar to describe something unfamiliar to people. It's not a literal mansion, but it's to say that it's got all these spaces. And it's hard to find things to say that'll help people grasp something, because one, it takes imagination to be able to fathom anything beyond this earth. You gotta start with something tangible, like that lamp. And they describe the lamp in the book of Genesis, where it's gold and it connects a certain way. And Yeshua made a reference to a lamp where you light the lamp, but don't cover it with a lampshade. And that lamp is so much more than what people realize. And what's used is also the tree of life or the burning bush. There's so many different references for these things that have been taught to people but have been used wrongly by people, because for whatever reason, people that love this world take sacred spiritual teachings to get more of what's in this world, because they're in love with it. And that just means they don't love God, because if they loved God, they would not be using teachings the wrong way. There is so much that he can do to fix things here, but everything takes time to unfold. And where he's from, things work differently. Things work differently here. And it's because of what's here. He can't change the world suddenly if what's in here is corrupted and full of evil. He can't do it, because Alora Cian said this world is a projection and a reflection, and essentially both words essentially mean the same thing. And if God were to suddenly fix this world, this would not be in alignment with His will if it's not pure. And there's so many people that don't care about fixing, these imbalances that they have. Because somehow it's just easier to be the way that they are and not want to work hard to get to a good place. The mind and the heart. And as my teacher said, heaven looks for to see who can make the heart more like the mind and the mind more like the heart. And both of those things are supposed to come together, and they're supposed to create this beautiful column of energy where it illuminates the lampstand, where the tree of life is fully illuminated, where the burning bush is fully burned up, where the connection to God is realized because there's no ego blocking the connection between us and Him. And anytime we start getting into a negative space, that is the shadow. And that is what ego works from. And if people could realize that negativity is the absence of love, and then wouldn't it be a little bit easier for changes to be made? It's very simplified. It's overly simplified. Probably too simple. But just think, if the more love, the more perfect. And love is positive. It would be nice for people to become more positive. Because then things could start changing. And people could start healing. And then their healing could make it so that the planet can heal. Planet can't change unless the people change. Or, people are going to have to wake up and be devastated that their choices led them to the wrong end of things. I mean, there is a rapture, but only a few people are going to make that rapture. Because a person has to love God. And they can't love God if they don't love themselves, and they don't love people. They don't love animals. They don't love taking care of the earth. Love should be the thing that makes the world go round, but it doesn't. So many people are missing out because they don't have love. And that's what we need in order to feel a connection with the Lord, because that is the highest good in this universe.